Thank you everyone for jumping on the call. I just wanted to take a few minutes just to give a brief overview as to who's speaking today and what the agenda is, and then we can crack on. So my name's Lewis Denton Burke. I'm a solutions consultant at Flow Communications. My job is to work with our customers to ensure they're getting the best solution for whatever operational goal they're trying to achieve. Yishay, if you wouldn't mind giving us an introduction to yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, Lewis. Hi, everybody. My name is Yishay Yovel. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Cato Networks. I've been with the company since day one, so I've seen our business grow from a visionary, trying to kind of converge networking and security in the cloud into actually delivering it at a very significant scale. And I will discuss our SASE offering today. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks, Yishay. Will, if you wouldn't mind doing the same.
Hi everyone, my name is Will. I'm from Madam Geneva and Gent, and I'm going to be guiding you through now the, when we get to it, the Martini Masterclass. So I hope you get everything nice and chilled and in the fridge, waiting for the Martini to begin. So yeah, thank you very much.
Great stuff. Thanks, Will. Cool. So the agenda for today is why Flow Communications and Cato Networks, which will just be a brief overview from myself, an introduction to SASE networking and Cato with Yishay, a Q&A about SASE networking with Yishay, and then a Martini Masterclass, which I'm sure you're all very much looking forward to, with Will. So just briefly from myself, why Flow chose to work with Cato. So I think to understand that, it's good to look at our mission statement. So Flow's mission statement is to be the partner of choice by providing business advantages through innovative technology solutions and customer-centric collaboration. So what does that mean then in the real world and day-to-day working life? So this is just a brief slide of the cyber security marketplace. As you can see, there's hundreds and hundreds of different vendors, and it's an absolute minefield. And this isn't even half of it, really. I mean, if you look at advanced threat protection in the top left corner, you know, you can see Sentinel-1's not there, F-Secure's not there, Panda's not there. So you can pretty much double or triple this slide. So for you as an IT professional to do your day-to-day job and have an understanding of what all of these vendors are, what solutions they solve or what problems they solve, and what the differences between them is pretty much impossible. It's basically a full-time job to have an understanding of all of this stuff, and that's kind of part of my job. So what do most people do? So most people will go to Gartner in order to try and narrow this down. They'll go to the top right corner, pick a couple of products and go with that. And the thing is, then you've got to install them all, manage them all, train everyone up on it. You've got ongoing support costs, ongoing maintenance costs. You know, if one thing breaks, there's a big hole in your security then, and trying to get everything to talk to each other and work together properly, it's just not an efficient way to do it. We've seen over the last decade or so that subscription is kind of becoming king. It seems to be the way that most technologies are going. So we've got infrastructure as a service with AWS and Azure. You know, you get all of your music now as a service from Spotify and SoundCloud, TV as a service from Amazon and Netflix. And security is the next thing on the list, basically. You'll see now that most of the literature coming from Cisco and Palo Alto is all geared towards SASE networking. And it's just much more efficient to get all of that Gartner type stuff that I showed in the previous slide, all under one roof from one single pane of glass on a subscription model. And then you pick and choose what, you know, variations of that you want, because it's more cost effective, it's easier to manage, it's more secure, and it's basically the future. So the three logos at the bottom there, you know, all of these other images I've just taken from Google. The one in the bottom right I've made myself, and we think that that's what the future will look like from a cyber security perspective. And we want to inform our customers about the latest and greatest things in cyber security, and that's why we partnered with Cato. The difference between Cisco and Palo Alto is Cato's been created from the ground up, from a blank sheet of paper, to be a SASE type solution. So it's an out the box product, ready to go, and that's why we've chosen Cato. So that's it from me. Over to you then, Yishai. You should be able to share screen and
Sure.
go ahead.
Sure. Thank you very much. I think that's a very straightforward introduction. So I'm going to this is a short presentation. I'm standing between you and the drinks. A little bit about the company, and then I'll talk about our approach, which was described very succinctly in the differentiation between us and the legacy players. The company was founded by two innovators. Shlomo Kramer, our CEO, is the co-founder of Checkpoint and Imperva. He's basically part of the team that built the first firewall. So he brings a very strong security DNA to our story. And Gur Schatz, our CTO, has been working with Shlomo in different companies, but his specialty was to build a very scalable cloud network called Incapsula, which at the time had the objective of stopping denial of service attacks. So we have security DNA in the company and a networking DNA in the company, and we're trying to combine them together. We have combined them together to deliver Cato. We raised over $200 million from top-tier venture capital firms in the US, and we were able to kind of put this into real production use. The Cato service called the Cato Cloud in over 600 enterprises, covering 6,500 locations globally in over 100 countries, and also serve 200,000 mobile users, remote users, which are very important for many organizations in the work from home era that we all find ourselves in. We didn't plan it this way, but as you will see from the architecture, it's a natural fit into the SASE story, into the Cato story. So what kind of customers do we serve? These are customers from all verticals. You can see here retail and construction, manufacturing and finance. There are different sizes. Some of them are smaller, some of them are larger, some of them are known brands. I think what's common here is the theme that Luis discussed, which is customers that have complex environments, complex networks, cybersecurity requirements on the one hand, and on the other hand, they have a smaller team to run. So they need simplicity, they need automation, they need as a service. So the complexity is less, the burden is less, the management is less. And those customers go to Cato, okay? The ones that want to streamline their environment. So I think this is an interesting quote. It's actually predating SASE by a few months. This is separate kind of analysts in Gartner that basically made this observation that after spending essentially the entire technology era optimizing our networks and our security, adding more performance and more features, and then rolling them out into customers, we are now at a point where the innovation will have to shift. We can't just throw more features at the customers. We have to package what is being delivered in a way that is simple, automated, reliable, flexible. This is very important. So it's much more important how the network and the security are being delivered than what special feature we just decided to develop and roll out. And fundamentally, you are experiencing it in your network. So if you look at your network, let's say that used to be a core hub and spoke, MPLS-based branch and data center, this has changed. And now we are looking at expanding the networks and the security to the cloud, to global locations, to remote users or mobile users. And what IT had been doing for the past decade or so is patching this architecture with solutions, point solutions to address the new requirements. So MPLS is not highly, they don't have enough capacity, or it's very expensive, it doesn't work for the cloud. Let's put SD-WAN. We want cloud, so we need to accelerate traffic to the cloud with products like AWS Direct Connect or Azure Express One. Or we need to do cloud security with some CASB products. Let's do that. We want global. So in global, we need branch security. We need security in the branch. We can't just backhaul traffic all the way to the data center on the other side of the world. We need a global backbone to optimally connect those solutions. So let's go and hire a carrier to do that. And obviously, there are now ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access, SDP, on top of legacy VPN, just to make sure our users have secure access to the applications they need. So what we're looking at is increasing complexity, which creates a very big challenge for IT. And this is what made Gartner make this observation, which is the process I just described, the moving to the cloud, the adoption of mobile and edge computing, it's changing the way the network works, and it makes existing network and security models obsolete, okay? We just simply can't continue on a product by product basis. This is, at a most fundamental level, is the problem that Cato was built to solve. So now, as Gartner looked at this and said, okay, it's obsolete, so what's going to replace that model, that consumption model? And the answer is the convergence of the WAN edge and network security markets. In this diagram on the right side that Gartner created, you can see on the left side different networking features like SD-WAN, like WAN optimization, like network as a service. And on the right side, you're seeing network security features like secure web gateway, zero trust network access, firewall as a service. So essentially, these are all capabilities and products and categories that we used to buy in the past as point solutions. Now, the future is the convergence of these capabilities into a holistic solution that Gartner called the Secure Access Service Edge. And fundamentally, this is exactly what Cato did, but we didn't do it after 2019 when Gartner announced SASE. We have built our product from the ground up since 2015 to be the world's first SASE platform. It wasn't called SASE, we called it Converged SD-WAN and Security in the Cloud. It's a long name. Gartner gave it a short name. That's pretty cool. And now we have a name to talk about the thing that we have been doing for the past 5 years, which creates a head start. It gives us an architectural advantage. We have built our platform to converge the things on the left into the thing on the right, while others have to take mergers and acquisitions, acquire technologies, legacy technologies, and try to make them work in a SASE way. And this is a very tall order. So how Cato works, we basically take the different resources that we have in the enterprise, the headquarters, the data centers, the branch, the cloud instances, the mobile users, and we connect them to a single network in the cloud. So we treat all the resources in the company in the same way. We're not branch technology, we're not remote access technology, we're not multi-cloud technology. We are all of them because we were architected from the beginning to treat each one of those equally. So now that we have the traffic running in the Cato cloud, we can basically inspect the traffic. So as packets starts to come from these edges that I described, we can look at them, decrypt them, look at the payload, identify threats, and then of course do it not just for internet-bound traffic, but also for the wide area network traffic, for cloud-bound traffic, from traffic from mobile users. It actually doesn't matter where the traffic comes from or where it goes. We can enforce security policy equally well across the entire traffic. And now that we have the traffic in the cloud and the security engine inspecting the traffic is within the same cloud network, we also came up with a single management console. So it's a single console to configure all the policies, the networking policies, the QoS, the security, the routing, as well as looking at all the analytics and the performance in real time, historical perspective. All of it is in one console. Now, this is not some duct taping of multiple consoles into one screen. It's literally one screen. And every feature we add to this platform is being managed exactly in the same way and operated exactly in the same way. So it's holistic, it's simple, it's comprehensive, and it's covering all the requirements. Now, so I talked about the fact that we are able to do all these things to capture the traffic or take the traffic, secure the traffic, manage the traffic, but where can we do it? So Cato built a cloud service that has more than 60 points of presence all over the world. Each point of presence is running our software to deliver all of our networking and security capabilities. And we deliver it exactly the same way everywhere in the world. So there's no need to compromise anymore. You don't need strong security in the data center or in large office and weaker security in a small office, or even weaker security for remote users, because you can't afford to deliver the same quality everywhere. It's just very expensive if you look at the old model of appliances. So we have that network that has very high density in North America, in Europe, in Asia, in China, in Australia, essentially wherever your customer operates, either as a branch user or even as a remote user, they get the acceleration and security benefits I'm going to describe next. Okay, so this footprint is essential when you look at some SASE wannabes or SASE contenders. This issue of how does their cloud service look like, where they operate, what capabilities they can deliver in those locations where they operate. This is the difference between someone that a cloud native service that is designed to serve hundreds of customers and thousands and tens of thousands of users and locations versus someone that is duct taping appliances and sticking them in the cloud. It's very, very different in terms of the service, cost, and quality, and resiliency and redundancy. So that was the cloud. Now let's talk about the actual architecture. So I mentioned that we have the 60+ POP cloud network. You're seeing it here. And those POPs are interconnected with multiple tier 1 carriers. So this gives us redundancy at the core of the network. So the POPs can choose the carrier that operates the best between every 2 points. And of course, if there is challenge or there's a downtime or even brownout with some of them, of course, we shift automatically to the others. We have 2 or 3 in every POP. So that creates that. Now, the software that is running in the POP is all software that Cato built from the ground up as a multi-tenant cloud service. So I mentioned the self-healing capability, the ability to work with multiple carriers between the POPs to ensure continuous service. We also calculate a global routing, the best optimal route. And we're not using it, doing it with BGP, which is based on distance. We are using actual network metrics to calculate best route. So which route has the lowest latency, packet loss, and jitter? This is the route that I'm going to choose to move traffic from one POP to the other. The software also lets us apply sophisticated optimizations. So for example, we would maximize bandwidth for uploads and download operations with TCP acceleration. We also optimize traffic to the cloud in a specific way I'll describe later. So that's the networking part, but the same software stack also does security. So we would apply a next generation firewall to the traffic to determine where packets can go. Secure web gateway with URL filtering to make sure that users are not accessing malware sites and phishing sites. We will also decrypt the traffic if you get advanced threat prevention from us and do IPS anti-malware, next-gen anti-malware on the traffic, again, through all traffic. So again, these capabilities operate on all the traffic. So they will equally stop access to the internet, to a malicious site on the internet, but it will also stop the propagation of malware from one side to the other, as I will show in a minute how we connect those sites, right? So it can be east-west traffic, or it can be internet-bound traffic. They are all being inspected with the same engines. Obviously, all of this is working for cloud and mobile as well. So how do you connect to this cloud service with all of these great capabilities? So physical locations are connected with Cato Edge SD-WAN device. This is an SD-WAN solution that provides all the features that you would expect from an SD-WAN, running multiple links in active-active, choosing the best path based on last mile performance. I explained that we're doing it in the core for the middle mile. Also, obviously, we do it also for the last mile. Application-aware QoS, packet loss mitigation for applications like voice to make sure that packet loss doesn't disrupt voice calls. And we can also accommodate hybrid WAN scenarios with MPLS as well. So what's important here is that SD-WAN solution is ours. So it's totally built to cooperate with the cloud, to work with the cloud. Obviously, we control the software of it. You never have to patch it. You never have to upgrade it. All it does is push the traffic efficiently to the nearest POP where the global optimizations and the security inspection is happening, which means that you almost never have to upgrade this device. It can handle essentially any load because the amount of processing it's doing at the edge is very limited. Now, the same way we connect a branch, which is a physical location, we also connect a user. So a user will install a Cato client for full traffic processing, or it can use clientless approach for accessing internal web applications. And the device of that user will find the nearest point of presence. So if I'm in Tokyo, I will go to the Tokyo POP. The traffic will get to the Tokyo POP. And from there, it will be routed to the data center, to the cloud, to the internet in the most optimal route. And obviously, all the traffic from the device will go through full security inspection. So you can see how the cloud-first architecture of Cato enables you to deliver extremely powerful optimization and security down to a single user on a mobile device. It can be a laptop, a smartphone, a tablet. They are all benefiting from all of this. So these trade-offs in the legacy architecture, that simply doesn't exist. Let's go to the next edge. The next edge is the cloud. We can plug AWS data centers, Azure data centers, Google Cloud, Ali Cloud. We can plug them using an IPsec tunnel, which means a footprint in the cloud provider itself, or a virtual socket, if you prefer. And those data centers become part of the wide area network. Now they are routable. You can get to them. You can get to the applications in them. All traffic in and out is fully inspected by the Cato POPs. So you get full security. So for example, if there is a malware infected file in some repository in AWS and somebody tries to download that file, we're going to stop it at the POP, right? This is a use case or a scenario that is not that common when you think about internet security. So that becomes part of the network as well. The last element that everybody cares about are applications, UCaaS, Office 365, cloud storage, ERP. So here, what we will do is something called a SASE-aware egress, meaning we're going to have a network rule that says to get to SAP, ERP in the cloud, I need to exit in the Frankfurt POP of Cato. So we will automatically detect traffic from any source that needs to go to the SAP ERP instance. and we will route optimally all that traffic to the Frankfurt POP that is the closest to the SAP instance serving the business. And obviously, it doesn't have to be a Frankfurt, it can be Virginia, it can be Singapore, depending on what is the most optimal place to drop the traffic. Now, this is very powerful and very valuable and inherently part of the Cato platform, again, because all of this was architected intentionally in this way from the beginning is where you can get those benefits. And lastly, security, I mentioned that we have very flexible management. It's holistic. It's one console that manages the entire thing. And you can use it yourself, self-service. You can co-manage it with a partner, a managed service provider, or you can have a fully managed environment. And I'll talk a bit about the managed services later. So this is the architecture. I see that we're getting some questions. We'll get, we can get the Q&A lit up. So I'll answer the question when we're done. Sorry about that. So just about the managed services, just a bit. Sorry, I'll go back. So some customers, especially customers that come from telco background, said, okay, this is an amazing SASE platform. I like your console, but I need help in certain areas like NOC and like SOC. So on the network side, we offer intelligence last mile management, meaning that we will proactively monitor all your last mile ISPs and detect very early that you have a problem. And then we will work with the ISP to resolve the problem by providing them all the information they need to understand where the problem is. So that's one area of service. The next service is SOC, which is MDR. Once you're on Cato and your traffic is flowing through Cato, we can offer you a managed detection and response service, meaning finding malware-infected endpoints in your enterprise network. What's great about it is that it's zero footprint, meaning you don't have to install appliances to intercept network traffic or endpoint agents like it's very common with MDR offerings, and they're doing it because they need to get visibility and access to the traffic in order for them to do their job. But because we have that traffic already, all you need to ask is, I want to activate this. Here's a license and you're done. And we're going to, on a daily basis, communicate to all the endpoints that we find using our experts in the SOC that are doing a process called threat hunting. Hands-free management. So, you don't want to touch our console. You just want to tell us what you want to be done to the network, and we will do that. Another kind of service. And also we'll help you deploy the solution and also have a dedicated support resource if you choose. These are all a la carte. You don't have to take any of these things. They're all optional. So if you are get some it reminds you of a telco environment, this is mainly designed to help customers migrate from a telco environment, and we will give them as much or as little help as they need. So I'm getting close to the end, and then we'll take the questions. So the idea of SASE is to future-proof your network transformation journey. So if you think about the journey that we started to talk about, MPLS, right? I want to move from MPLS to SD-WAN. That was my initial project. This is what I actually wanted to do at first place. Why? Because I want to get more capacity at a lower cost. I get SD-WAN. That's cool. But the next thing is that, okay, I'm getting SD-WAN, but I just left my MPLS provider and I need global connectivity. So let's get a backbone. Maybe it's Azure Virtual WAN. Maybe it's a global MPLS service from someone else. Then I need security. SD-WAN is all about getting to the internet quickly at the branch, but I can get to the internet quickly without backhauling to my data center where my security is. So let's get security in the branch. How? Cloud-based security, next generation firewall in the branch, cloud-based security in the cloud. How about acceleration? I moved to the cloud, I migrated to AWS, but my branches and data centers are far away from those AWS instances. So let's deploy cloud acceleration. and obviously a mobile VPN, and then I want some easy way to manage it. So on the left side, this is the journey. This is the legacy journey. On the right side, what you have is again and again the same platform. So you can gradually roll out capabilities. You can start in one area and move to the other. For example, some of our customers decided, or some of our new customers during COVID decided to start with remote access with the mobile, which is the thing at the top. So the first thing is they got a couple of data centers connected to Cato, hundreds, sometimes thousands of mobile users on the other side. They have a solution for remote access. They rolled it out immediately, and they can consider how they will get into SD-WAN, for example, when people get back into the branch, right? So on the flip side, if you are invested a ton of money in branch technology like SD-WAN, and all the people moved to home, then with Cato, it's very easy to extend our capabilities, as you saw, to the home. But if you invested in a pure SD-WAN box, then you need to go and solve remote access in a different way, and you are back into this point solution journey, right? So this is kind of, it's your choice essentially. You go project by project, product by product on the left, or you're basically flipping capabilities, switching capabilities on the right. So kind of before we go into the question, how you want to think about this is try to look beyond the point problem of today to an opportunity to shape the future of your network and security. Okay, get on the right platform. And I'll quote a Gartner prediction that they just released in one of the Magic Quadrant documents. And they said by 2024, 60% of customers will deploy a SASE strategy on top of their SD-WAN, up from 35% today. Okay, so we are already, 35% of customers are already thinking about SASE as a superset of the SD-WAN project. And it will just become more and more prevalent as time passes, because the problem we have isn't MPLS replacement. We have a need to move the entire business to a cloud-first, mobile-centric, no capacity constraints, more affordable, more automated world. And SASE, and particularly the Cato flavor of SASE, I think is doing a very good job doing that. So first of all, thank you for listening. And I will now take some questions. So I'm seeing the first one coming in. So it's about the global pandemic. Seems to be still a very big problem. Does this pose potential challenges for Cato? So our business is actually growing very well during COVID for two reasons. First of all, we save money. So if companies try to cut costs, especially coming off legacy platforms and legacy point solutions, Cato is typically a very good way to get more for less. The second answer is that, as I mentioned, you can do a targeted deployment of Cato for remote access while the entire platform is there. And when you want to extend the solution to then when you want to extend the solution to cover the branches or the clouds or other requirements, obviously this can be done. So that's the answer to this question. Let's see if we have any more. Pravina?
I would say as well, if you've got a question, just go ahead and type it in the Q&A box, or if you'd rather ask it verbally, then you can raise your hand and I can unmute you.
So the question is, how are the commercials set up on this? So I guess the question is about our pricing structure. Generally speaking, we are an annual subscription service, and we are it's being priced based on capacity going into our cloud. So think a last mile internet of 100 megabit in North America. This is how we will charge, so by region and by capacity going into the Cato cloud. And the second parameter is remote users, right? So the first licensing element is for branches, and remote users is for remote users, and that will be priced by user. This is the that's the structure of the pricing. Okay, see if we have any more. Okay, I think that we don't have any more questions, so I think I'll hand it back over. Oh, I think we have another one. Would you need to run a tool of sorts to understand our landscape to determine commercial? No, typically what we do is we get what we call a scoping document. You list all your sites and you list what kind of connectivity and capacity you have in them. And we will then come back to you with a scope. Obviously, you can list your remote users, etc. There is a process that we will do with through the salesperson or the partner that will work with you. But fundamentally, what we need is just to understand the physical environment, branches, capacity connected, capacity in that branch, and remote use. So I'm getting a question here from Lisa. You say that you manage ISPs, or is you see a problem, you will contact them. So what I say mean by manage is we monitor them, right? So we are not the ISP itself. The ISPs are third parties, which are being contracted by the customer or by an aggregator. If you want, we can introduce a partner that will help you procure last mile globally. So, but because we have SD-WAN at the edge and we have the cloud and we understand what happens to every single packet that flows, then we can very early detect that you suddenly have an increase in packet loss or increase in latency or some other type of problem, even before your users see it or even as they see it. And what we do is we create a capture. We have a system that captures a very large amount of information about the situation. And we will open a ticket with the ISP and submit all that information and then follow up with them until they resolve the issue, because ultimately last mile issues are infrastructure issues that we cannot directly resolve. But at least we can get everybody a very significant leg up in terms of time to resolve. Let's see if I have other questions. What's driving the SASE adoption among enterprises? So again, I think that fundamentally the thing that is underpinning a lot of this is network transformation. MPLS networks were built to do east-west traffic, branch to data center. In the last few years, or whatever, like in the last 20 years, the amount of internet traffic that needed to go out of the branch was low. Now that traffic is increasing significantly. So a very high percentage of the traffic is now going to the internet, and you need more security and more capacity and more bandwidth in order to deal with that. So you want to change your network, but changing your network means changing your security and changing your global access and all other aspects of the network. And SASE is kind of built, is designed to serve this new set of enterprise requirements. So instead of patching your way to it, you can basically do a very kind of rational, very effective kind of deployment of a network that is going to be with you in that change that is happening. And this is what's driving. So network transformation is driving SASE adoption, and everybody is transforming their network. It's that simple.
Thank you, Shai. I had a technical problem, then I dropped off. I panicked for a moment, but I managed to get back in.
Okay.
All I will say is anyone that doesn't want to ask a question now, or has any questions that are specific to your network or your requirements, then just message me afterwards, and we can answer any specific questions that are specific to your business separately. I think we've got one more though, Yushay.
Yeah, so the question is, how do you protect your intellectual property with the risks of COVID? And I think I answered, and it's actually it's a very good point, right? So if you build your security around your branches and corporate headquarters and data center, that's your main security, then obviously working from home is very scary, because you actually moved people from essentially a protected environment to an environment that is much less protection, maybe no more than their antivirus on their endpoint. And SASE changes that, and Cato changes that, because all of our security capabilities are in the cloud, not in the branch, meaning that whatever is connected to our cloud is receiving the most powerful protection that we have, right? We have the experts, we have the technology, we have the scale, we have the maintenance. So if you have an endpoint that connects to the Cato cloud, the Cato POPs, you have IPS, anti-malware, next generation anti-malware, you have URL filtering, you have all the rule management and optimization that we're doing around that. This is all protecting a single person at home or a whole branch. So if you look for a great reason to adopt SASE, it is that. It is that there is can be no compromise on security, and the best way is to put this power in the cloud. Okay, and that's how we address that. Okay, I think we are getting close to the drinks, maybe. Yeah.
I think so. If we'll hand over to you now, Will, if that's okay.
No problem at all. Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to join you this afternoon. Thank you, Yushay, for the presentation. At this point, everyone, I would say, Lewis, if you can stop sharing the screen, or whoever's sharing the screen. At this point, we're going to start. No worries. We're going to start mixing up the martini, and I always like these to be very interactive. And I love to see what you're doing, because I'm going to make this on screen with you all. So if you're feeling brave enough, please do put your video screens on, because I love to see you all and see where you are as we make the event. So just to explain who we are, I am Will. I'm from Madam Geneva and Gent, and I have a partner in Gin, as I like to call her sometimes. This is Emma Parker, and we created Madam Geneva and Gent about 3 years ago to share with the world our love of all things gin and juniper, including obviously the martini. So yeah, but obviously for the last couple of months, since about April, we have been doing the events online. So yeah, if you're feeling brave enough, please do join us on the screen, do share your video. Today, for the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to talk you through the process, first of all, of making the classic dry martini, hopefully one that Bond would have been a big fan of. And also, then I'm going to share with you a bit of information about the drink, its origins, and there's that little lesser known information that you kind of, maybe you've heard of the martini, but you don't really know where it's from. So we're going to go straight into it right now and start off with the actual mixing the martini. So there's a couple of things that I need you to go and get for me, and I'm going to talk you through these now. So please go and get for me either your Martin Miller gin, or if you're going to be doing the vodka martini, because we've left it up to you this afternoon. We've left it up to you to choose whether you're going to make the classic gin martini or the classic vodka martini. So please go and get your Martin Miller gin or your Chase vodka, whichever one you're choosing to do. Please also get your Bramley Engage dry vermouth, your cocktail shaker, and make sure it has ice in it. Or if you're going to go with the other method of stirring your cocktail, then please go and get your mixing jug and make sure that has ice in it as well. And then we're going to need a martini glass as well for this, and then a lemon and a vegetable peeler, because we're going to be doing this with a lemon twist. So I'm going to leave those on screen and give you a couple of minutes to go and get everything you need. And I need to go and get my ice, because mine's still in the freezer as well. So if you could We'll come back in here in about a minute's time, and we will give you a moment to go and get everything, and then we will start preparing. So if anyone has any questions about what they need, please do let me know. Type it in the comments or the questions, and we will see. Okay. Okay, so if anyone doesn't have questions about what we need to get, please do put them in the comments, or take yourselves, please do raise your hand and we will answer the questions. But yeah, just to talk you through, so we're going to be doing either the vodka martini using your Chase vodka, or you're going to be doing the gin martini using your Martin Miller gin. You also need to have a cocktail shaker or a mixing glass. Make sure there is ice in there already. I'm actually going to be stirring my cocktail this afternoon, but it's up to you again which one you want to do. You also need your martini glass to pour this into, and then a lemon and a vegetable peeler for you to make the lemon twist. So I hope you're all getting the stuff from the fridge, because the key to a good martini is that it should be lovely and chilled. Everything should be chilled. So when you're making this, if you enjoy this and you want to make this in the future, then the key to everything is to make sure that it is as chilled as possible. So by that, you know, put your glass in the fridge, put your gin or your vodka in the freezer. It won't freeze if it is a good gin or vodka that's above 40% ABV. So please feel free to do that. I wouldn't put the vermouth in the freezer because that's not as strong in alcohol content. So that one will go slushy. Probably be like a vermouth slush puppy if you tried to do that. Okay, so I hope you've got everything ready with you. We will begin the process of making, there we go, making your dry martini. So first things first, we need to put our vodka or our gin into your mixing glass. So depending on which one you go, both are delicious. I'm going to do a gin martini today, but yeah, please get your bottle of gin or vodka and pour the whole bottle. So that's 50 ml of gin or vodka, depending on which one you're using, and put that into your glass. So I'm going to put, here we go, 50 ml of gin straight into my mixing glass, obviously filled with ice already. There we go. Now you're going to get your vermouth, your dry vermouth. And for this one, we want less vermouth than we have gin or vodka. So for this one, please put just half the bottle into your mixing glass. So just 25 ml of the vermouth. As you can see, I'm going to put 25 ml of my measure into my mixing glass. Okay. So just to get you up to speed, you should by now have in your cocktail shaker, depending on which one you've used, cocktail shaker or your mixing jug, you should have 50 ml, the whole bottle of either vodka or gin, and then just 25 ml of your dry vermouth. And then comes the fun bit. We're going to shake or we're going to stir. Now, if you're shaking your martini you need to shake this for 20 seconds. If you're stirring your martini, you need to stir this for 30 seconds. So if we are all ready to begin, I will be stirring. 3, 2, 1, get shaking or stirring. So if you are shaking your martini, the 20 seconds is just an approximate. If your fingers feel like they're about to fall off, you know that your martini is actually now at a good temperature. So you can stop shaking your martini. But the key for this is we want to bring everything down. We want to bring everything to be as cold as possible, which is why we shake it in ice or we stir it in ice. Okay, let's give that a taste. Lovely. Right. So now what you want to do into your martini glass is you just want to pour the liquid. We don't want any of the ice going in here. So we just want the liquid. So we just pour the contents of your mix into your martini glass. You can use a strainer if you have one to hold back the ice, or most cocktail makers have a strainer built into them, or you can just use your spoon, or if you're drinking it on your own, you can use your finger. But if you're making it for someone else, I wouldn't recommend your finger. to hold back the ice. Okay, so now we should have just the liquid in our glass. If any ice has fallen into it, don't worry, you can just carefully scoop that out. So now we want to do the lemon twist. So please get for me your lemons. And what you need to do, using your lemon and a vegetable peeler, from top of the lemon to the bottom, please peel off a strip of lemon zest, just like this. That is about the length of your thumb and then the width of your thumb as well. So you just need it like that. That's absolutely great. Doesn't matter if it's rough around the edges. I know in bars sometimes they kind of trim the thing off and make fancy decorations with it. We don't need to do that on this one, but we just need a strip of lemon zest. Now, what we want to do is transfer the lovely oils and juices from the lemon zest into the cocktail. So before we put it in there, you basically hold it between your fingers and your thumbs like so. Hold it with the zest on facing the drink. And then between your fingers and your thumbs, you basically pinch the lemon zest together. And what you should see on the top of your glass is little of the surface of the liquid, little spritzes of oil and juice from the lemon zest forming on the top. Then we twist this together. Okay, you can run it around the edge of your glass, and then you can leave it to rest in your martini. And then there we have it. If you've all done that, you have just prepared for yourself the legendary dry martini. So I invite you all now to take a sip of your martini. Ooh, that's absolutely delicious. Don't know about yours, but please do share in the comments what you think, if you have any questions. And if you haven't got up, there should be a postcard in your box which has the recipe for the martini so that you can hopefully mix it up and make it again. Now, whilst you're sipping on your martini, I'm going to tell you a little bit of information about this cocktail, because it is a legendary cocktail. In the world of all cocktails, there really isn't another kind of cocktail that stands up to the martini in terms of style and sophistication. If we think about, you know, the femme fatales on the silver screen, or, you know, in the 50s and 60s, or, you know, the suave and sophistication of James Bond, Sean Connery asking for his vodka martini and demanding that it be shaken, not stirred. But there's a lot of mystery surrounding this drink, and its origins are somewhat mixed. And if you were to go into a bar and ask the bartender for a martini cocktail, then you might get a very mixed, you might get a bit of a mixed reaction from him. And why? Because if you love a martini cocktail, then you know how you like it to be made. And so there might be a flash of panic on the face of your bartender when you ask for a classic martini, because you're very specific about what you want, whether you like it shaken or stirred, the ratio of gin to vermouth. So it all really depends on how you like it. So a good bartender will always ask you, how would you prefer it to be made? Now, with all these different mixes and variations, the origins of the martini are somewhat mixed, but the most commonly believed thought is that it definitely hails from America in the late 19th century. And was made around, well, the most commonly believed story is that it hails from a town called Martinez, was made by a bartender called Julio Richelieu, who, when asked to create a celebratory drink for a miner who just struck it rich in a mine, he didn't have any champagne, so Julio mixed together 2 parts gin and 2 parts vermouth into a glass, popped an olive in there, and then served it to this customer. And the customer absolutely loved it. So this was the origin of the martini, and news spread of this new drink, but the recipe for the martini wasn't written down or recorded for another kind of 15 or 17 years or so. And the first record of this drink, this new drink, was in a cocktail book called The Bon Vivant's Companion, or How to Mix Drinks, and this was around 1870. Now, the martini very quickly took over as being the reigning monarch on the cocktail scene. Before this, you had the Manhattan, and you know, the common thought with the martini is that its rise to popularity was due to the fact that it used gin and not whiskey that you might have found in other drinks more popular at this time. Now, the interesting thing about the martini is that women started to love them as well. And if someone was, if a lady was a housewife of a businessman, an American businesswoman, American businessman, and they had to entertain their husband's business associates and colleagues, then they had to be adept at mixing up a mean martini. And also they wanted to make a good martini because they enjoyed it themselves. So it was in the early 1900s that the martini emerged to be, the dry martini emerged to be the most popular version of this cocktail. And when I say version of this cocktail, it's because there are many different versions that you would have heard of before. So I'm going to put up a poll now because I want to know how many of these different martinis have you heard of before. So please take a moment and answer in the poll if you've heard of any of these martinis. And I'm going to take the moment to have a drink.
Well, we've got a question in the Q&A box as well. I don't know if you can see that at all.
Yep. Okay, no problem. Let's have a look. No, you didn't miss the part where you put the vodka in, the tonic in. So obviously we've given you the choice of mixing either the vodka or the gin into your martini. And whichever one you didn't use, please feel free at a later moment to enjoy that with your tonic can. So don't worry, you didn't miss the part where we put the tonic in. Tonic is not used in a martini cocktail. It simply just is gin or vodka and then vermouth. Okay, so I see a few people have answered the question. So let's end the poll there. And interesting, yeah, dry martini, we just made that. The dirty martini is an interesting one. The dirty martini is essentially where, as well as gin or vodka and vermouth, you add to the mix up to about 25 ml of olive brine from the can of olives, as well as 3 olives into your drink. It creates a very, very particular flavor, somewhat salty. I'm not a huge fan of the dirty martini myself, but I know people that absolutely love them, and they actually judge a bar on how filthy they can make the martini. Okay, so we've got the Vest martini, not many people heard of that, and then of course we've got the espresso martini and the porn star martini, but we will come back to them in a few moments. But yeah, if you have any more questions, Alistair, you've said, what is the best type of lemon that should be used in a martini? The best type of lemon is actually a fresh one. You need the lemon to be fresh so that it easily peels when you use the lemon peeler or the vegetable peeler. If you have a slightly older lemon, the actual zest, the surface, the skin of the lemon actually becomes very soft and doesn't strip very well. So yeah, you want to have a nice clean strip of lemon, if possible, with not much of the pith on the inside. So some bartenders will use a knife rather than a vegetable peeler, and then they will scrape back the pith after they've done it. So let's move on to the vodka martini, because we've been talking a lot recently, well, at the moment, about we've just been talking a lot about gin being used in the being used in the martini. So where does the vodka come in? So in terms of martinis, or in terms of cocktails, in fact, vodka is a very latecomer to the whole martini scene and the cocktail scene. Vodka has been drunk all over the world, particularly in Eastern Europe, Russia, Poland, for centuries. Since around the 15th century, vodka is a very common drink. But its use in cocktails is actually much later, about 500 years later. 1905 was the first record of vodka being used in a cocktail. And this was in America, in New Hampshire, in 1905, when a bartender heard that a Russian delegation were coming over to the hotel, and he needed to mix up some cocktails, and he knew that Russians love vodka, so he decided to mix up a whole load of cocktails with vodka in the recipe. And this was interesting because its use in the martini was much, much later. Almost, 50 years later was the first record of the vodka martini being created. And this was in a cocktail book called Bottoms Up by Tom Saucier. So it's interesting to note that, you know, these days, I would say the vodka martini is the better known version of the martini. But for a long time in the martini's life, it has been just gin all the way. In the 60s and 70s, the gin martini, well, gin itself actually fell out of fashion. It became very kind of unfashionable drink, only one that you really kind of brought out when your great aunt was coming around, probably around Christmas time. And it, you know, the bottle would sit there gathering dust. And this was because in the 60s and 70s, vodka was the go-to spirit for your cocktails. In terms of the name, the martini, it's very mixed as where this comes from. It's one of those kind of myths about the martini. Is it the guy, you know, that asked for it originally? Was his name Martin? Is it the town Martinez where the drink was made from? Or has it got something to do with the most famous brand of vermouth there is, which, as we know, is Martini e Rossi, which is from Italy. And I'm sure you've all seen those green bottles in the supermarkets. And you're kind of wondering, hang on, if that's martini and this is a martini, what's the difference? So there's some thought, maybe it's just down to PR urban myth at the moment, that the martini cocktail actually got its name from the vermouth, the most popular vermouth in America that you used to make your drink. But there are very new martinis on the scene these days. The most classic newer martini, as we know, are either the porn star martini or the espresso martini. Now, the porn star martini was created in the 90s by a South African bartender in the Townhouse Bar in Knightsbridge. He wanted to create a cocktail that sounded sexy and decadent, so he went for porn star. Not sure he got that one on the mark, but this has become a very popular drink. But I always wonder, which do you do with it first? Do you shot the prosecco, or do you pour the prosecco into your drink? You never know. And the espresso martini, this was created by Dick Bradsell, a very famous London bartender. He worked in the Atlantic Bar in Piccadilly. And legend has it with the espresso martini is that a certain supermodel at the time in the 90s was attending London Fashion Week. And we never say her name, but I'm sure you can probably guess from the story who it was. So yeah, legend has it that this famous supermodel walked into the bar, went straight up to Dick Bradsell and said, I want a drink, and I quote, and I'm going to use a different word because I don't want to cause offense, but I want a drink that is going to wake me up and muck me up. And so Dick Bradsell looked at this supermodel and thought, you know what, I've got just the drink for you. So he mixed in the vodka with coffee, and the espresso martini was served, and he obviously gave this to the supermodel, and you know, the rest is history. The espresso martini is really popular. But when you drink them, do you drink them, you know, most people have them like at the end of the evening to perk them up, but then, you know, you could be in bed when you've got home, kind of having drunk 3 espresso martinis, kind of going, oh my god, when can I fall asleep? So yes, this is the origins of the martini. Many different martinis are available today. The most common thing between the martinis is they're all served in this kind of glass. And this glass is important because you hold on to the stem, which means that you're not having your fingers holding onto the actual drink, which means it won't warm up in the glass. So yeah, the most recent martini name to join the list, the vast list of martinis, was actually created this year in March, on 23rd of March 2020, and this one is now known as the Quarantini. And this is the martini that we make at home on our own in lockdown when there's no one else to drink it with. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed my little masterclass in the martini and my little whistle-stop tour of the world of the martini. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. And if you have any thoughts as well on your martini, I would love to know what you think. Please put it in the chat or ask away. So do we have any questions? If not, I'm just going to enjoy my martini.
Thanks, Will.
Job.
Yeah, well, I'll be having mine later because I've got to drive home. So I've memorized everything you just said, and I'll do it this evening when I get in. But I haven't had any more questions come in. So I think that's it from us. So thank you, everyone, for jumping on the call. Hopefully you found it interesting from both a technology perspective and from a drinks perspective. And it'd be great to see you on some more of these in the future. So thanks again for attending, and speak to you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.